Hello, it's me again, and I've come back at you with some more face-turning eicosohedron dilemmas and solves. So as you recall, you've got the eicosiax, which is the archetypic shallow-cut face-turning eicosohedron 20-sided puzzle. Then you have what's called the radiolarian, which I guess is actually the radiolarian 2 by the strictest definition. A little bit more deep cuts, and you have these other pieces that are involved with that. This is an offshoot of the Radiolarian 3, but it's the Radio Cube 3. I don't actually have the Radiolarian 3, but I've got the cubic version of it. This is another one that I'm going to be going through in a little bit. And you've got, of course, Eitan star, which I think is the Radiolarian 4, if I know the nomenclature. So anyway, they're great puzzles, fun puzzles, but not always the easiest to turn, except for this guy, of course. These are fine as long as you learn to just turn them in one direction as opposed to another. Then we showed a shape modification of a 20-sided puzzle into a 12-sided puzzle. Basically, this was a shape modification of the Radiolarian. So the dodecahedron is really the same puzzle as this, but a shape modification. Well, we also have a shape modification of the Eitan star, which is this guy, and that's the Vergo's pentagram. So if I were to turn this over here, you'd see that it's really the same type of puzzle as this here. So this center is equivalent to this center over here. These little central triangles are equivalent to these little central triangles. Unfortunately, I didn't get a black sticker version, so it might be hard to see, but these are exactly the same thing as these. The difference is that this center is of one color, this is of 3 different colors. These are, of course, 3 different colors on the same side. They're one color, but if we're going to call this one side, there are 3 different colors over here. Then you have these corners. So these corners are equivalent to these corners here. These have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors. These just have 1 colors. And then these tiny little wedges that surround these corners are equivalent to these points over here. These are 2 colors each, and these are just 1 color. So if you know how to solve the Eitan star, you know how to solve this. The only difference is this has become like a super eicosohedron, a supercube, and that's because orientation has meaning, especially with the centers, and that's going to add a little bit extra of an issue with that. So I did go through a tutorial of this guy over here. So really, the Rex dodecahedron is a shape modification of the Radiolarian, and Vergo's pentagram is a shape modification of the Eitan star in a dodecahedron form. So basically, I would just point you to this puzzle. However, I did get numerous requests for this one here, so I figured, what the heck, I'll go through that. So here's the first thing that you need to do. The reason why I kind of held off on buying this puzzle, and the only reason why I did is because I really started to enjoy the face-turning eicosohedrons, is the turning of this puzzle. So it seems to turn pretty well. See, you can turn pretty well on this side. There's a lot of clicking here. And to turn this way, you can see that this is pushing against it and really wants to pop. It's like this all the way around the puzzle, and as a matter of fact, I can't even have one direction that will consistently turn. At least with this guy, the turning was horrible in the other direction, but I can turn like crazy here. The second I try to turn here, it gets very catchy and runs the risk. So I can modify my algorithms just by turning one direction. Even the eicosiax, if I just committed to one direction, I'm fine. The other direction could be an issue, and these turn pretty easily here. This is the worst of all those worlds because the edges are so sharp that it really doesn't let me do too much. So I'm turning pretty well here, it catches here, I tried to turn back. So imagine trying to do all those lengthy algorithms that we did with this puzzle here, only to find that we're blocked. So what do? Do we just say, you know what, we've got the Eitan star, it moves pretty well, so why even bother with something like this? I'll tell you that out of the box, this puzzle is, for me, rather unusable. It's unusable because the movement is just pretty poor. So my recommendation is this. Should you buy the puzzle? Sure, but as long as you do this. Now see how hard this is to turn? What we need to do is we need to take these sharp edges and we need to, let's just say, dull them down. So what I would say is pull out your Dremel, if you've got one, and just go ahead and start shaving these sharp corners down. So I'm just going to take this over here. I'm just going to shape it down here. I'm going to do that all the way around the side here. Take it down here. You can see how I'm taking down the points here a little bit. And down here. And over here. After I've done that, I want to shave this part down here as well. And I keep going. Okay, now we've got some residue here. We can just kind of buff that out a little bit. Okay, after doing that, we then take a look at the motion. And what I do is I just keep going around until I see it snag. And when I see it snag, that's when I look to see what is it snagging on. But now I can turn it a little more easy, like so. Now I didn't lubricate it, but I can even potentially move it with one finger. Not yet. So I'm turning it around and seeing how we're doing. What are we snagging on here? Whatever I see we're snagging on, that means we have to shave it down a little bit. Okay, we may have slightly sharp edges still, so I'm just going to shave this down a little more. Alright, now this is a 20-sided puzzle, so you can see now we're in business. Now I can turn this way, I can turn it this way, and if I lubricate it, maybe I can do even more loosening, but I can even turn it with one finger now. So what I'm going to do is that's this side. So this is the pink, green, and blue side here. I'm going to go around to this pink, red, turn around and see how we're doing. And you can see we're snagging. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all around the same way. Okay, now I know what you're thinking. Am I really going to want to attack an expensive puzzle like this? And the answer is, if you want to use it, yes you are. And you're not going to damage the puzzle, you're not going to destroy the inner workings, but you can see just how smooth moving this is over here. So we did this, and I just look to see if there's anything snagging. Can I move it with one finger? Yes. Pretty much. Come over to here, and you can see snagging. So I'm looking here. What I'm doing is I'm just shaving off these sharp ends over here. Again, you're not damaging the puzzle. It might not look as pretty. Buff that out over here. And it might look a little scuffed, but at least you have a functioning puzzle. Okay, so let's see how we're doing. So, but I would say that it's no longer an unusable puzzle. I can start applying algorithms. Like I say, it's going to look a little scuffed, but it's worth it if you want a functioning puzzle. So there's plenty of other sides. I'm going to go ahead and do this all around the puzzle, and then we'll see what we end up with. Okay, so at the end of the day, notice that after having shaved it down, it does create a little bit more of a gap over here. But that's okay, because I think maybe in the design of this puzzle, rather than leave it to us to do some post-production modification. Maybe that could have been part of the design. Just leave some gaps there so that the edges aren't quite as sharp. So I'm going to continue to do that with Dremel in hand as I'm solving. See if there's anything that starts to get snagged, like when I see this. I look to see where that came from. Sometimes it's just pieces snagging against each other. Okay, so now that we have that, what I'm going to do is go through the algorithms, which are really exactly the same thing as the algorithms that we saw in the Eitan star. So basically, to start off with, if we were to try to move these corners around, as you recall, to move these wedges around, that's the same thing as moving these, where this here, this goes to here, this goes to here, and this goes to here. Well, bear in mind, it's a question of perspective. So I'm going to, if I were to do my typical down, down, up, up, that would be down, down, up, up. So I have a side here on the top, down, down, up, up. So I have a corner here and two corners at the side with this one facing up. Well, so too, that's going to be my baseline perspective with this. A corner here facing me and two corners over here, because that'll define this side over here. That's going to define this right over here. So that's going to be the perspective with all of my algorithms. So if I wanted to move these little guys, this will go to here, this will go to here, and this will go to here. The way this is going to work is I'm going to move it down at the side. Now I see that there's a little bit of snagging here, so I'm going to explore that a little bit. Where is that coming from? This may be a little sharper than I want it to be. Alright, is that better? Yeah, I feel like it's not quite as bumpy. So in any case, this to here, this to here, this to here. So I'm going to move this down here. Now my down, down, up, up is going to go through this center over here. So it's going to be down to the far right, then down, down, up, up, and then we go up, down, down, up, up. Then again, down, 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 up, up, and then up, down, down, up, up. Okay, so what that did is this took this, moved this to here, and this to here. It also did some strange and funky things with our centers here, but we won't worry about that now because we actually saw that last. So if I wanted to move it back, this will come down. Well, actually, yeah, we'll go ahead and get this back in. This to here, this to here, and this to here. So we've got down, 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 up, up, and up, down, down, up, up, down, 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 up, up, and then up. Now you can see how much easier it is to do these algorithms. I really am having very little effort at all with that. So that's all in. Now notice I have rotations of my centers here. I didn't have that with these centers because I had equivalency rotation. I don't have equivalency over here. So that's going to add a little bit extra challenge being a super eicosohedron. So that's the algorithm to shift these guys around. Now there's also the algorithm to shift these guys around as well. What this will do is this will take this, move this to here, and this to here. And that's going to be the same algorithm that I use for this guy. And luckily it's the same variation, the down, down, up, up. So in order to do that, if I want to take this to here, and this to here, I'm going to start off on this side and go down, down, up, up. Then I'm going to take this center here. It's actually isolating this center here. So just remember which one you isolated. This moves up, and then I reverse what I did. Down, down, up, up, and this comes down. So this went to here, and this went to here. Now notice we snagged a little bit here, so I'm going to investigate that a little bit. And it looks like this is a little sharp over here. So let's see what happens if we shave this down a little bit. A little sharp over here too. Now I don't like to take apart the whole puzzle. There we go. Oh, much, much better. So as I'm doing it, by the end of my scrambling, I should have it pretty well. So see, I can do it one finger here, one way, one finger the other way. Okay, so that's the algorithm with these guys. The algorithm for the corners here, if I were to do that, holding it over here, this will come to here, this will come to here, and this will come to here. And the way that's going to work is this is my top part here, so we do U, we do an R, UI, LI, U, RI, UI, L. Okay, so notice we ended up destroying these guys a little bit, but we did move these around here. So this tells us the timing of things. We can isolate these guys and move them. We can isolate these and move them while also messing up these centers. So what that means is I'm going to put these in first, then put these in, then put these in. Which leaves these guys here, and these are just really placed by intuition and also just a down, down, up, up. So basically in order, we're going to put these central areas here in, well, these guys here. Next step is we're going to put in the centers here. They're not really centers, they're corners to be sure. So these corners, and then we're going to put in these little wedges, and then we're going to put in these centers. So it's exactly the same that we did here. The only question is, how do I deal with this rotational issue? So what we'll do is, why don't we go ahead and scramble it up. And while I'm scrambling it, I'm actually making a judgment about how we're doing in terms of modifying this. Alright, doing alright. So I am not a modder. What I did is not complicated. If I can do it, any one of you guys can do it. Anytime I feel a snag, I find out where that snag is coming from and where. It looked like these guys were snagging a little bit, so I'm just going to take the Dremel and chop it down. And like I say, it might not look as pretty as when it started, but at least you'll have a functioning puzzle that you can use. And believe it or not, once you get done with that process, you're actually going to have a puzzle that's probably better moving than all the other face-turning eicosohedrals, which is good, because this is a pretty easily obtained puzzle. Cost is not as high as some of the others. Again, you see me going back and forth just to see how well this turns. I have not used any lubrication on it. To be honest with you, I don't think I need to. I don't know how much it would help, because the issue with the turning was not lubrication. The issue was actually just how these sharp corners are put together. And like I say, I would suggest, if maybe another version comes out, is to maybe leave some gaps, perhaps, in the mechanism so that it doesn't snag the way that it is. Because all they really had to do was make those modifications. Okay, so not bad. It's pretty good. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. Now, in order to do a complete scramble, we should probably jumble the puzzle. And just to demonstrate the jumbling, we'll turn it over here, and let's see where this can go. Now, I'll tell you that the jumbling doesn't really add anything to the scramble in terms of not shifting orbits. So some jumbling puzzles, when you jumble it and try to get it back to the native shape, you end up shifting the orbits. That mostly happens with edge-turning jumblers. With edge-turning jumblers, you end up with a situation where you're pulling things out of specific orbits. That's how edge-turners turn. With face-turners, I've yet to see jumbling really change the nature of the solve and causing any parities of reduction when you get it back to its... let me see if I can find the jumbled move here. There we go. Back into its native shape. But pretty soon you find yourself blocked up, which is really the nature of what jumbling means, and I might actually even be there. Okay, there we go. Here's a nice jumbled side. You can see that doesn't even look like a side anymore. I'm seeing some snagging, so maybe I can take an opportunity. No, it's pretty good. And actually, even if I don't do any more dremeling of this down, it moves good enough to have a decent solving experience. Okay, so I'm pretty much locked up wherever I go. So I think we're good. So this is a fully scrambled, jumbled Vergo's pentagram. So how do we get out of this? Well, the first part, in terms of solving the jumbling, again, I don't have a specific strategy for you. We could have jumbled this one too. Any one of these can jumble. It's just a matter of finding opportunities to create a side. So first off, I have to find sides that move. Like here's a side that moves. And I'm going to just create a side out of this where things are in the right configuration. So I'm going to move this here. This likes being here. This can't really move here. So I'm going to swing this around, maybe create this. So now I've created a side. So what does that mean? Well, nothing yet. So I'm going to take this side here and maybe match it up so that I can create other sides. That's this over here. Okay, and I'm going to try to get it down to where there's only one wedge left. Move this over here. This can use a wedge, so I can swing this all the way around perhaps. And, oh, you know, I think I'm jumbling it more. Okay, so I've created a big block over here. This doesn't really move. See if I can create a side here. Okay, this doesn't belong here, so let's see if I can create a side somewhere else. Maybe here. This doesn't move, this is in the way. I got a nice side over here, but it doesn't really correlate with these guys. So let's see if I can match it up better. And I can match this up to here, okay. Match this up to here, okay. Alright, so I'm just exploring options here. I don't have a particular strategy. Okay, so I'm trying to find the stars in my pentagrams. Alright, I've created this side. I've created something of a side here, so I'm going to move this into position, so I'm creating more and more. So I'm just trying to fill in the gaps here. Now this is really nicely jumbled, as you can see. I can't move this at all, so I'm going to have to bring this in, maybe here, release some of the jumbling pressure here. Now I'm going all the way around. So maybe pull this away here. So I got some nice size. Now imagine how hard this would be if I didn't do these modifications. Okay. So again, what you're seeing is me just trying to create sides. I've got this over here, but this is not good. So maybe I can create more. Okay, so now we've got a whole section over here. Except this doesn't really belong. So what I can do is match this to here. This still has created a side, so now I've got these guys. Okay, I've created a side here. I can match this in like so, and aha! Done. So there it is. I don't want to spend too much time about the jumbling aspects. Do I recommend jumbling? Yeah, I do, because first off, it's not gonna really take away or confuse your overall solve after a while. But you know, if you have a puzzle that has the capacity to be scrambled further, you might as well do it. It gives you sort of a little psychological boost to know that you took it from a really scrambled state to a solved state.